All right, GM, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's first pre-market prep session. It is Tuesday, January 16th, 2024. We had Martin Luther K Day yesterday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The market was closed. Some people had off work today. If you're in Maryland, you might have a snow day. If you're in the educational system, right, traditional educational system, you might have a late day into work, all that, but the market is opening on time. I'm happy about it and happy to get into what we have for today as well as this week. Because remember, since we had yesterday off, we didn't get into the week ahead, and it is earnings season, so that makes it doubly as important to be on top of what's happening this week. But as always, we're here to do one thing, and that's get 1% better. If you aim for that, you can get 2%, 3%. Some days you have days where you have major breakthroughs, you get 5 or 10% better, right? But if you focus on that one, you make sure that you're getting it done each and every day. So we're going to start off here, of course, by commenting that one in the little comment box there, signifying your intention to get 1% better. And then we're going to dive into what we've got happening here. I want to look for the week ahead info, but also our Monday specific info, and then go through anything on the economic calendar. But I hope you guys, had a good day yesterday, whether you were in the office or off, whatever circumstances you were in. I hope you had a good day. Took some time to reflect, right? Especially for people of color, all the different sacrifices it took for us to get here, and why it's even more important that we commit to our goals, right? And really put our best foot forward and strive for it, because a lot of people lost their lives in the effort to give us the chance to do that. So not only are we letting ourselves down when we don't walk in our calling or give it our best shot, or remain disciplined and have confidence in ourselves, but we let them down too. So if not doing it for yourself, do it for the people that came before you, that gave you this opportunity to do it here and now for yourself. And if that doesn't fire you up, I don't know what the heck does. So let's get this bag and execute in the market this week. In terms of our top news for the week ahead, the energy sector could be the focus next week as crude oil futures continue to bounce around after U.S. and British airstrikes in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen added to the rising tensions in the Middle East. Oil tanker stocks and shipping stocks rallied on Friday off the development. The earnings reports will also begin to ramp up during the holiday-shortened week, led by financial companies. The Q4 earnings consensus EPS estimates have been cut by 6% since September, reduction in estimates. However, earnings breadth, which is the total number of companies with positive EPS growth, is expected to improve for the quarter. The event calendar for the week ahead includes Samsung, Samsung Galaxy Unpacked event, Needham Growth Conference, and several speeches by Federal Reserve officials, and shareholders vote for Spirit Realty Capital on the acquisition offer from Realty Income, whose ticker is O, who we know a little bit about. The crypto market could also see another high volume week of big swings. Speaking of the crypto market, that's also, been kind of all over the place. I feel like this recent episode just kind of underscores again that idea that it's always kind of buy the rumor, sell the news in the crypto space. The rumor causes the run up. That's when you want to be in. When the news actually drops, that's when you want to be out, because we were just all over the place since then, and popping and dropping and selling. So yeah, buy the rumor, sell the news. That's going to be the rule there for when it comes to crypto and specifically trading these tickers. But we've got a lot on the plate this week, right? And that can make this week overall a tricky week. We've got a holiday shortened week, which can mean low volume, low conviction. We've got earnings, which can mean that, companies, the market kind of sits to wait for the earnings, even though it's not big tech earnings. We still do have earnings. And then we've got these conflicts, that are continuing to escalate. And that is why I made, all the reels, a lot of reels from last week, some that I haven't even posted yet, right, are about war, because you want to be prepared for that when that happens. And we're seeing just consistent over the weekend. We saw even further escalations, especially where the Red Sea is concerned. So I want everybody to be aware of that and try and get that out as timeless, in as timely of a manner as possible, so that it doesn't catch people off guard here. In terms of earnings news, we got Morgan Stanley on Tuesday. That's today. Goldman Sachs, PNC as well, and Interactive Brokers. Wednesday, we've got Prologis, Charles Schwab, U.S. Bank Corp, Kinder Morgan, and Alcoa. Thursday, we've got Truist Financial, Key Corp, Fastenal Company, and Birkenstock, ticker BIRK. I actually did I'm learning a lot more about Birkenstock now as I get as I'm on this like health and holistic wellness grind and how important your feet are. But as a result, I was just looking into Birkenstock, and they're like a their company is older than the United States of America. Like it's crazy their story. If you don't know, it's worth checking out. It's pretty interesting. They actually like had the daughters marry other shoemakers, which is kind of weird. But it was to like constantly expand the empire. So talk about like a singular vision. Like they just wanted to constantly hone their craft and get better and better. So yeah, I guess if you were a shoemaker, you might have had a chance with the Birkenstock back in the day. Maybe that paid off for you now. But very interesting story. They've been around for over 200 years and pretty crazy. Not many companies can say that. In terms of the earnings spotlight for Friday, Ally Financial reports, Comerica reports, and Travelers reports as well. Monster Beverage is holding an event. Don't really care too much for that. And that's kind of the biggest from the week ahead. So let's go into specifically economic data, and we'll check out our Market Watch economic calendar for that. But yeah, more banks set to report bank week, and even with Bank of America having those low expectations, and within those low expectations, the guidance call kind of brought it right back up. So Bank of America didn't really move from pre-earnings to post-earnings. Um, yeah, and like I said, I anticipate banks will have a year, right? They'll make the best out of this interest rate situation, and I suspect that it'll be a good year for banks in 2024 for sure. Let's see what we got going on here. Of course, now computer wants to move, unmanageably slow. Mhm. Guess I could pull up the more recent newsletter. Oh no, here we go. All right, nice. So, anything important? We've got a member of the Fed, Waller, speaking at 11 a.m. today. Not super important. Can cause some volatility. If you see some crazy spike sometime after 11 a.m., like maybe between 11 and noon, no, it could be something that he said, and you want to go check up on what's his name, Walter Bloomberg on Twitter, right, and see if there was any crazy comments made by Christopher Waller. In terms of Wednesday, we get retail sales at 8:30 a.m. Another member of the Fed speaks. A few members of the Fed speak. But honestly, nothing super important. Big pieces of economic data that are dropping here. Thursday, initial jobless claims, probably the biggest thing. And then Friday, consumer sentiment. So consumer sentiment is really the one of note this week. We don't get that till Friday, so that's nice, right? As of right now, honestly, the main thing is going to be the fact that it's just that holiday shortened week, so you get less volume because it's a holiday shortened week. But other than that, the main economic data that we get is going to be on Friday with consumer sentiment data, and then we've got some earnings that are in the banking sector and some here and there that are kind of tossed around different sectors, but no big major earnings. So not a whole lot of like potential landmines, throughout the landscape here for the market this week, which is nice. Now we can get into our Monday specific news. Let's dive into that. Okay, so let's see exactly where we're at. All right, let's roll from this, or I'll start rolling from the phone. Let me see, where is, because I just had this open too earlier. Oh, I got to go back one more. There we go. Okay. All right, here we are. So for our Tuesday, I was about to say Monday specific news, our Tuesday specific news, first headline, end of the piece dividend. So let's get into this. And we got some soldiers here in fatigues being shown as the picture. So there are more warnings that the world is in a new era of collective defense, and 2024 may mark that inflection point. One of the world's most important trade arteries in the Red Sea is becoming too risky to navigate, with fresh attacks hitting American owned ships, despite retaliatory airstrikes by US and UK military forces. Overnight, Iran's Revolutionary Guard also launched ballistic missiles and armed drones at the Erbil airport in northern Iraq, where US and other international forces are stationed. Quote, now is the time for all allied and democratic nations across the world to ensure their defense spending is growing, UK Defense Secretary Grant Shapps declared at the Lancaster House in London. Because, as discussed, the era of the peace dividend is over. In 5 years' time, we could be looking at multiple theaters involving Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, right? What we've been talking about is not hyperbole. At this point, understood as being more likely than less likely. Uh, um, Let's see here. As a result, Britain will be sending 20,000 personnel to lead NATO's latest exercise, Steadfast Defender, marking one of military alliance's largest deployments since the end of the Cold War. So we literally have the UK send 20,000 people to run a military exercise, right? And that's a deployment, right? There's 20,000 soldiers that are getting deployed from the UK to run a military exercise. That just sounds like preparation. It doesn't really sound exercising. These soldiers are being deployed. So again, right, this is escalation, escalation, escalation. Quote, we find ourselves at the dawn of a new era. Shapps continued, the Berlin Wall, a distant memory, and we have come full circle, moving from a post-war to a pre-war world. An age of idealism has been replaced by a period of hard-headed realism. Today, our adversaries are busily rebuilding their barriers. Old enemies are reanimated. New foes are taking shape. Battle lines are being redrawn. The tanks are literally on Europe's Ukrainian lawn, and the foundations of the world order are being shaken to their core. Of course, this guy is, throwing in some flashy rhetoric, but the underlying ideas here aren't wrong or exaggerated. We stand at this crossroads, whether to surrender to a sea of troubles or do everything we can to deter danger. I believe that in reality, it's no choice at all. To guarantee our freedoms, we must be prepared. And you guys know what that means, right? Investing in defense. You already said it at the top of the speech, but Lockheed Martin got a nice breakout there at the end of last week. Those Lockheed Martin long call swings were called out, right? So those long call swings doing well. Lockheed Martin doing well. At the end of the day, I cannot stop war from breaking out, but I can make sure that war isn't something that, discomforts me and mine. And that's the only thing that we can do, right? You pray for everybody to remain safe. You pray that peace abounds. But at the end of the day, right, there are plenty of times throughout the Bible where there was no peace, there was war. But what did you make sure that you were doing? You made sure that you were operating in a way that made sure that you and yours were okay, and you kept it pushing from there. That's the exact same thing, that we do here. I can't stop any of that stuff, but I can make sure that, whatever happens, I'm not the one that's sitting there not being able to get food or this or that and the third because of these conflicts breaking out. So in terms of what to watch, the call for increases in defense spending comes at a time when many Western economies are being pressured by giant debt loads and higher interest rates. Just another thing that is likely to push interest rates down for us soon. Over the past few decades, European countries have cut back even further due to budget deficit rules and a reliance on the U.S. security umbrella in rechanneling funds away from areas like health, education, and infrastructure, or implementing higher taxes and spending cuts won't be popular. While Donald Trump just inked a decisive win in Iowa as the 2024 presidential race begins, American military spending is likely to rise at an exponential rate no matter who is in office, with the defense budget increasing every year since 2016. Those are the fundamental forces that you want to see when you're looking at trading or investing in a defense company like Lockheed Martin. So once again, getting those bomb golden nuggets just by being here for the pre-market prep session. In terms of tech news out of Oxygen, Massimo, ticker MASI, has been locked in a high-profile patent infringement battle against Apple, with an appeals court backing two prior decisions by a patent tribunal that had sided with the medical technology firm. Apple has now said it will abandon the blood oxygen feature on its smartwatches to circumvent a U.S. ban on its devices if a court appeal fails. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency just approved the company's workaround as, quote, Apple's redesign falls outside of the scope of an important embargo. In other news, Microsoft has surpassed Apple as the world's most valuable publicly traded company in a move previously flagged on Wall Street breakfast. Congratulations for that. If I hear that sentence one more time about Microsoft passing Apple, I'm gonna go blue in the blue in the face. In terms of, but yeah, that's a nice update on what's been really a tough battle for Apple. I mean, don't infringe on other people's patents, I guess, is the lesson here. It's not often that big tech is actually held accountable for what they do. So I think this is a learning, a learning experience for them, and they'll make the necessary changes. But that is significant because this Apple Watch ban has caused, some negative sentiment in terms of Apple's stock, and is one of the key reasons why Microsoft is now the most valuable company for however long that is, because Apple, was dropping multiple sessions in a row because of this Apple Watch ban. So looks like they submitted another appeal. If that appeal fails, then they'll just completely take that blood oxygen, kind of reader out of the watch and roll from there. In terms of economic news, kicking the can, aiming to avert a partial shutdown, U.S. lawmakers have agreed on yet another temporary spending bill. It's just another day in America. The stopgap spending measure would extend funds for some government agencies through March 1st, while others would be funded through March 8th. The Senate will start procedural votes on the bill today, with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer calling bipartisan operation to quickly pass the continuing resolution and send it to President Biden's desk before Friday's funding deadline. Some hardline Republicans are pushing back on the latest bill, with the House Freedom Caucus saying this is what surrender looks like. Who cares? We got another stopgap. It is what it is. In terms of AI news, more control. This is pretty significant here. Tesla CEO Elon Musk is uncomfortable with growing the maker into a robotics and artificial intelligence leader unless he owns at least 25% of its voting shares, nearly double his current 13% stake. If I have 25%, it means I'm influential, he wrote on X. Unless that is the case, I would prefer to build products outside of Tesla. Musk's intent to have more voting power will add to the pressure on the company's board, which is already concerned over his compensation as well as his split focus on multiple businesses. In the past, Musk has also suggested that a large portion of Tesla's value depends on AI and robotics. It definitely does, right? AI can optimize. If you really infuse it into a vehicle, it can optimize the way that the vehicle works, driving, assisted driving, parking, all of that stuff, especially when you look at, even the stuff that they already have factored into Teslas, like the fact that Teslas make adjustments themselves independent of the driver when it's driving on snow, when it hydroplanes, when it catches ice, right? All of that is very significant. And Musk is like, hey, either you guys are going to give me control or I'll build this outside of you. And he definitely will. So, we'll see if they bend the knee or if they don't. But this is something that is kind of adding to a tumultuous start of year for Tesla, and just more and more headlines that we're seeing about Musk. In terms of today's markets, I believe that everything that's here has like changed. But we were majority red. I think now we're still a bit red, but just not down as much. Not shocking that we are red, considering that we, rejected daily resistance on SPY multiple times last week here. We topped out and we've got the potential for a daily double top. We'll see if that pans out or not. We did have some movement in semiconductor stocks pre-market, so that'll be something that's important to watch. AMD was looking good, right? While the SPY puts look good from the swings, the AMDs, if you opt in those AMD puts, those aren't looking as good because some news that came out here is causing semiconductors to push, and it might actually necessitate flipping sides, right, and hopping in on those AMD calls because something's got those semiconductors really pushing and possibly engaging in a little daily bull flag breakout action on AMD and on NVIDIA. So AMD, watch that 150.89 area, right? In that 151 area, it's chugging toward it at open. And if we can get a close above that by end of day, AMD can continue to push and fire off that nice bullish chart pattern. In terms of what else is happening, Google, Amazon, tech firms starting 2024 with layoffs. Layoffs will only continue. They'll only continue, especially at these big tech companies. That's why it's important that we continue to level up our skills, right, guys? Because when you have a bunch of Google and Amazon employees that are on the market, they are likely going to get hired. So it's these trickle down layoffs where all companies are undergoing layoffs, but also you have, as a result, a more saturated job market. So you have overqualified people that are willing to work your job because they don't have one otherwise. So making sure that we're bettering ourselves each and every day, super important. State attorneys general urge DEA to reschedule marijuana in terms of like rescheduling the classification that it's in. Boeing changes quality controls after 737 MAX mishap. If I had $1 for every time I heard that. Chinese military and universities still buying NVIDIA chips. That might be what's causing the stock to go up. Somehow there's still, I mean, as scary as that is, I don't want the Chinese military to have access to NVIDIA chips, but somehow they're getting them. IMF says AI will affect almost 40% of jobs around the world. Exactly what we were just talking about. Why is Ether now winning the crypto trade? Disney, ticker DIS, in advanced talks with NFL for ESPN stake. Love that. I was watching Disney last week, and that can make for a nice trade opportunity for Disney here today. Disney was gathering itself on top of a nice little support area. Uber, ticker UBER, is closing alcohol delivery service Drizzly. Dang. Costco, Sam's Club. Sam's Club's owned by Walmart. Is it? It says in parentheses WMT. I did not know that. But Costco, Sam's Club are a big hit in China. And that's pretty much it here in terms of the rapid fire bullet point rundown. Let's check out Diz and see what we got going on. Okay, nice. So Disney in these talks, but we're not seeing that yet manifest pre-market. So I'll be watching Disney, that 90.83 area, right? If we could close above that on the hourly, Disney looking good shorter term for some call action. So we got Disney that we got an eye out for. We got AMD that we got an eye out for, and we got getting 1% better that we all. And I believe that's exactly what we did by the end of this session. So we're looking to scale that mountain that we got going on in the background there, right? Reach the mountaintop, continue to climb, continue to get better. And then we'll be able to look back over what we did and say, hey, this was a great time, right? 2024, despite all the craziness, was a great year. Let's make sure we cement that, do, and have another great day and another great week. Everybody, do your out there. You either win or you learn. So keep that in mind. Just because you might not win on a trade doesn't mean that you're a loser. It means that you can factor that into your next trade, right? And make sure that it works out for the better next time. Other than that, guys, I'll see you back here tomorrow morning for our next pre-market prep session. Have a good one.